Welcome back, guys. So we are into the part of the year where we're going to start reviewing for your STAAR math test. Okay, we've got a little bit over 2 weeks until you have to take it. So we're going to go over some STAAR questions from last year's test and from the previous year's test, just to kind of give you a feel of what type of questions they'll be asking, how to strategize with them, and how to solve them successfully. So we're going to do 2 TEKs today. Ordering a set of rational numbers and generate equivalent forms of fractions, decimals, and percents, okay? So let's go ahead and get started with today. And please take notes, ladies and gentlemen. Always good to take notes so that way you can refer back to it, and you can always refer back to my video as well. All right, let's look at the first TEK that we need to review. Order a set of rational numbers, okay? Let me zoom that in a little bit, looks a little blurry. Oh, wrong way. All right. The table shows the portion of a day 4 students use to build a website. Which list shows the students in order from greatest amount of time used to the least amount of time used? So they want us to go biggest to smallest, okay? Well, let's take a look at our 4 students. We have 2 of them with percents and 2 of them with fractions. Now, the key here is that we need them either to all be percents or all be fractions, so that way we can compare them to put them in order. So I'm looking at my fractions. I can make these percents into fractions, but then I would need to simplify them and make them equivalent so I could compare them. Or I can change these fractions into percents by making them equal to 100, okay? 25 can be made equal to 100 by multiplying by 4. 25 times 4 will give us 100. So if I do the same to the top, 7 times 4 would give me 28. 28 out of 100 is 28%. Because remember, when I'm out of 100, I am equivalent to a percent. So my top number, my numerator, will be my new percent. 10 can be made equal to 100 by multiplying by 10. So if I do the same to the top, 3 times 10 would give me 30. So my percent would be 30%, okay? Now that I have them all the same type of number, they're all percents now, I can compare them. I need to find the biggest percent. So the biggest percent I have, let's see, Jamil has 29.4, Andrew has 37.6, so for that looks big. 28% for Ernesto, Blake has 30. So yes, Andrew would be my first choice as the biggest percent. If I look at my answer choices, I see only 2 of them have Andrew as the first person. So I'm going to go ahead and cross out the ones that are not my answers. Who has the next biggest percent? So Andrew was number 1. Jamil had 29. Ernesto had 28. Blake had 30. So Blake is going to be my second biggest. So out of my 2 answer choices I have left, the letter F is the only one that has Blake as my next biggest one. Therefore, letter F is my greatest to least in order. Okay. All right. Let's look at another one, ordering and comparing. Which list shows the numbers in order from least value to greatest value? Now it has switched. They want smallest to biggest this time. Take a look at our numbers, ladies and gentlemen. We have fractions and we have decimals here. Just like before, we need them all to be the same type of number so that way we can compare them. Now, in this instance, I can either make them all fractions, but remember, making them all fractions, I need to have a common denominator. That might take a little time, not saying that you can't do it, but that might take a little time that you might not be willing to do. But I can change my fractions to decimals. Remember Tybo, top in, bottom out? Let's go ahead and do that. So I have negative 2/5. So top in, bottom out. 5 will not go into 2. So I need to add a decimal and a 0. 5 will go into 20 4 times with nothing left over, okay? So above my negative 2/5, I'm gonna put negative 0.4 because I now know the equivalent of the decimal. My next answer number I have is negative 2.47, which is already a decimal, so I need to leave it alone. Then I have negative 2.5. Now, because it has a whole number and I'm changing everything to decimals, my negative 2 is just going to go up. Sorry, guys, it's getting a little blurry. All right, now I just need to deal with the half. You shouldn't need to do any division for this. What's half as a decimal? If you said 0.5, you're correct. So I already have my decimal, so I'm just going to put the 5 behind it. Now I have my equivalent decimal form. 5 I'm going to leave alone. 21 over 4. 21 top in, bottom out. 4 will not go into 2. 4 will go into 21 5 times with 1 left over. Add my decimal and my 0. 2 times 4 will give me 8 with 2 left over. And then 5 times 4 will give me 20. And now I'm zeroed out. So my equivalent is going to be 5.25 for this fraction. All right, see, we didn't even have to do that much work. We only had to divide 2 of them, okay? Now that we have the equivalent of our fractions as decimals, we now need to put them in order from least to greatest. Now remember, we have negative numbers in here and we have positive numbers. So it is very helpful to give yourself a number line here to remind yourself that the further away from 0 you are, the smaller you are. So since I'm looking for the least, I need the smallest number I have. So here's a negative, here's a negative, here's a negative. I want the one furthest from 0. Negative 0.4, that's close, that's about right here. Negative 2.47, okay, we're getting further. And then negative 2.5. Okay, so obviously this one is the furthest from 0. So I need to find the one that has negative 2.5 as the front. I only have 2 answer choices that have negative 2.5 as the front, and that's H and J. So I'm going to go ahead and eliminate these 2. They both have the same number for the second one. They both have the same number for the third one. So it's going to come down to 5, positive 5, and our 21 over 4, which we calculated as 5.25. So if we're going smallest, which one's smaller, 5 or 5.25? If you said 5, you are correct. 5 is smaller than 5.25. So that gives us H as our answer choice, the correct answer choice from least to greatest, okay? All right, one more for ordering and comparing. It says Maria used the thermometer to record temperatures of negative 3.4 Celsius and 1.6 Celsius. Which temperature in degrees Celsius is less than both of the temperatures recorded? So we have a negative, so I'm going to put that over here, negative 3.14, and then we have a positive 1.6. Okay, so think of this as our number line. And of course, we have 0 in the middle there. Okay, so we want the one that is less than both of them. So I need something that's over here. I need it to be less than negative 3.4. So if we look at our answer choices, I have 2 positives. I can go ahead and get rid of those because positive is going this way. So that's not going to be less than. Now I have a negative 2.6 and a negative 5.4. Negative 2.6 would be right here. So that's not less than. And then we have negative 5.4. That's going to be over this way. That's less than both of them because remember, the further away from 0 we go, the smaller we are. So that leaves H as our answer choice. Remember, guys, a number line is very helpful when comparing negative and positive numbers, okay? It gives you a visual, okay? All right, that was our TEK on comparing and ordering. Now we're going to move into our final questions of our review for today. Generate equivalent forms of fractions, decimals, and percents. So let's take a look at what we have here. A waiter earned 17% tip. What decimal is equivalent to 17%? Record your answers in your bubble document. I do have a bubble document that we're going to use once we figure out our answer. So there are 2 ways you can do this. You can change 17% into a fraction, which would be 17 out of 100. And then you can do tie bow, which would give you a decimal. Or you can use our shortcut. Remember Dr. Pepper? Dr. Pepper? If we have a decimal, we can change it to a percent. If we have a percent, we can change it to a decimal, which is what we want. We want to change this percent to a decimal. So for percent to decimal, we would move it 2 to the left. So here's my percent. Since it's a whole number, my decimal is at the back. So I would start at the back, 1, 2. So my decimal equivalent would be 17 hundredths, which makes sense because the 7 is in the hundredth position and a percent is out of 100. Now that I have my answer, I need to fill in my answer document. On your STAAR test, you will have bubble sheets like this. Let me zoom it in. Okay. Notice you have a positive and negative column. The only reason why you would need to fill this in is if your answer was negative. If your answer happens to be negative, you would put the negative symbol here and bubble in the negative circle. If your answer is positive, you don't need to do anything. You don't need to put the plus, you don't need to bubble in the plus, okay? Our answer is 0.17. So here's my decimal. So I'm gonna put my 1 and my 7. Then I will bubble in 1 and 7. There is no need to bubble in the zeros in front of it, okay? That's not going to affect your answer or cause it to be counted incorrect, okay? 0.17 is our final answer. I bubbled it into my answer document. That question is complete. All right, almost done. Dolores spent $13 of the $20 in her wallet. Which decimal represents the fraction of the $20 spent? Well, 13 out of 20. There's our fraction, but we need a decimal. Tie bow. Top in, bottom out. 20 will not go into 1. 20 will not go into 13. So we need to add a decimal and a 0. How many 20s can we get into 130 or close to 130? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Too much. So 20 times 6 will give me 120. I have 10 left over. Add a 0. How many 20s can we get into 100? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 5. Now we're 0. I have a decimal. And if I look at my answer choices, letter D matches my work. 0.65, 0.65. All right, last one, ladies and gentlemen. Carlos walked to school on 14 of the 20 school days in February. Which value is equivalent to the fraction of days in February that he walked to school? So 14 out of 20. We're going to do top in, bottom out. 20 will not go into 1. 20 will not go into 14. How many 20s can we get into 140? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. 7 of them. We're zeroed out. I'm going to take a look at my answer choices. I have 70%. I have 0.07. Ooh, let's check that out. 0.07. Here's my decimal, but there's no 0 in front of it. I have a 7. So that one's no good. 0.142, that doesn't match. So I'm going to cross out the 2 decimal ones. And then we have a 56%. So my answer choice has to be a percent since my decimals didn't work out. How do I change a decimal to a percent? Remember our shortcut, Dr. Pepper. I have a decimal. I want to change it to a percent. So I move my decimal 2 to the right, and then I will have a percent. Here's my decimal. 1, 2, add a 0. My percent is 70. I have that as an answer choice right here. Letter A. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is your review on comparing and ordering and equivalent fractions, decimals, and percents. I have a review game in your folder to help you practice those teaks, and we will have another review set of questions tomorrow. All right, guys, have a good day.